Hello everybody, Mike Tenney here at the Tenney School, and we are here today to do another vlog. And today joining me is our very own principal, Catherine De La Rosa.
Hello everybody.
And the topic we have picked to talk about today is why homework is bad. And we'll give you a little bit of background on why we've picked this topic. But in general, we're doing these vlogs to try to talk about topics so that give information to parents and other educators that they can find helpful in helping their students achieve their greatest academic potential. And this topic, why homework is bad, we've picked because this comes up over and over again when we talk to families. There is a lot of families out there that have difficulty with homework and have problems with homework and how their schools are assigning them homework. So we're going to kind of dig into this topic today from the perspective of why homework is bad. I will also say that we are planning to do another vlog on why homework is good. So we're not necessarily anti-homework, but we do know that there is a case against it. So before we start today, though, Catherine, if you could just give us an introduction on yourself so people know a little bit more about you.
Sure. This is my first year as a principal at the Tenney School, and very happy to be here. Before that, all of my experience was in public school. This is my 20th year in education. The last 4 years, I was a middle school assistant principal. Before that, the 4 years prior to that, I was an elementary assistant principal, and then most of my experience was as an elementary teacher in various grade levels.
Okay, so Catherine's got a lot of rich experience, and in particular talking about homework is something that she's familiar with as an administrator and as a teacher.
Yes.
So let's dig into it. So tell me one of the reasons why homework is a bad thing.
One of the reasons why it's a bad thing is because it causes students to lose interest in school. They're at school full time, depending on the school, 7 to 8 hours a day. So they finish that full time schooling and then they go home and it's like the second shift. Like they clock in and here they have so much homework. They're spending anywhere from 4 to 5 hours on it, and it really just kills the joy of learning. A lot of students in the studies that I read and on the polls and opinions that I researched on said that they don't feel that it's useful to them. They're either got the material already, it's just busy work for them, they don't see the importance in it, or they didn't understand the material in the first place, so when they go home they're overwhelmed, they don't even know what to do with, at all. A lot of students, especially middle school and high school students, have outside interests like sports, fine arts, or other interests that they want to pursue, and they can't even do that just because they're overwhelmed with homework. Lack of sleep, so many different things. It just affects them tremendously, causes a lot of anxiety, not only for students, but parents as well.
Sure. Interesting, one of the things you mentioned, I remember meeting with one family earlier this year, and I think they asked their son about homework, how much he thinks she should have, and their son said, well, when you have a job, how much work do you do at home? And of course, generally speaking, you don't always take your work home.
Exactly.
So the student, they have a job to go do for them at school, and then they return home and they have more work to do, which some students feel is unfair and doesn't really match up with life in the working world. And there was another interesting thing that you mentioned there about just the stress that it causes, and the fact that sometimes students will get home and they won't know how to do an assignment.
And so, a lot of the research said that, those that are for homework is that it teaches study skills and time management, but a tremendous amount of the research said that, in fact, that's not the case at all, that it hurts kids. I know several kids that I've worked with over the years, they don't know how to they don't have the organizational skills, so they get home, they have this mountain of homework that they don't even know where to begin, and so they're defeated even before they've started.
Sure. And we talked about this earlier today, so if they have 20 math homework assignments to do and they do 10 of them wrong in the wrong way, they've actually reinforced negative habits.
Exactly.
So not only have they had to do work that they didn't feel like they needed to do, they've reinforced negative things that the teacher is going to have to somehow unwind when they get back together.
Exactly.
All right, so that was kind of the first reason why not to do, why homework is bad. What would be another reason why homework is a bad thing?
It widens the gap between high and low performing students. I did some research and I found that in an Army base in Kansas, a lot of the parents were deployed. This was during
one of the Iraq wars.
One of the Iraq wars, yeah, exactly. Thank you. And it was talking about how that school that had been a good school was just all of a sudden their scores dipped tremendously, and it was because they didn't have anyone at home to help them. These were families that were under high stress, and even if they did have one parent home, just the stress of having your loved one at war, it affected them so much. Them having homework meant nothing. The school was still low performing. The kids were not performing. Also, too, a lot of times students from low-income families, the parents are working. So they go home, there's no one at home. So if they need the support from a parent for a problem that they don't understand, there's no one there to do it.
Sure.
I personally, as a teacher, had most of my teaching or all of my teaching experience was at low-income schools. And I remember one time a young man didn't bring his homework, and I was like, "Why didn't you do your homework?" And kind of, just kept going on and on. Yes, I was on him about it. And he came up real quietly to my desk, and he said, "Miss, we got evicted last night, and we slept in the car." And it was a very eye-opening experience for me, because we don't realize what people go home to, or if they even go home to a home at all. And a funny story that I read also from a professor at Columbia who was a proponent of homework until he had children of his own.
Yeah.
These are high-performing students and families that are able to help their students. He says that now, his kids come home with homework, and he says, we have two highly educated adults in the home, and sometimes we can't even help our kids with homework because we don't even understand what they're expected to do.
The content that they're covering. So let me just kind of revisit or rephrase what you'd said. So the achievement gap, that's kind of an education ease term that we use out there, but it basically means the achievement of low income and high income, middle to high income kids increases over time. The middle to high income kids are going to achieve more than the low income kids. And some of the research out there shows that because the middle to high income kids have homework help at home, by assigning homework, we're actually helping that gap to widen, and we're negatively impacting the low income kids.
And the same thing that you said earlier, some of those kids may go home not understanding the concept and practice it incorrectly. So, again, it negatively reinforces.
It's snowball.
Yeah,
it's just building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Was there another thing that you had on your list of reasons why homework is bad?
And I think that a lot of parents can attest to this, but it causes pressure between parents and their children. So a lot of the research that I read about, it was like, the parents become the nag. Instead of, they haven't seen their child all day long, and a lot of parents the first time, most parents work, so right when they walk through the door is, did you get your homework done? And so the battle begins.
Right.
So it's like waging a war between parent and student. And again, and a lot of times in a lot of research that I read, also the parents are like, we don't even have any idea how to help our kids with the, geometry, the higher math. And so, then it's just, there's so much tension in the house. There's no time for family bonding, causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress in the family.
Yeah, there was a lot that I read that talked about those types of factors as well. That over assigning homework causes a tremendous amount of stress on the student and then the family as well. And I think we all kind of know that we're overscheduled as it is. And if we put a bunch of homework load on these students, then we're just contributing to the negativity of the stress of the households.
Exactly.
All right, was there anything else that you thought of that would be good to kind of dig into today on why homework is bad?
I think just in general, and we'll discuss it more when we talk about the benefits of homework. I think the parents should advocate for their child if they feel like the homework that they're getting is not useful. If it's just overwhelming, I think as educators, it's our responsibility to make sure that we are assigning homework that's relevant, that has been taught already in class, and that it's manageable. A lot of the research that I did find for schools that were innovative that said, like the military school, or the school at the military base that I was talking about, they decided that they weren't going to assign any homework anymore, and what they did instead is would have any adult read to them for 20 minutes. So either read with the student or have read to the student or have the student read to them. And they said that just having that over the year time that they did that their scores then did increase. It was more beneficial to have an adult just read to them, and that was it. That was the only homework that they had. So that was very interesting.
Sure. All right, well, I really appreciate you doing this for us, and I appreciate all the research, and hopefully you guys found this beneficial. This really has been a big topic of conversation here at our school, and I bet at many schools, and we are continuing to talk about this continuously with our staff on trying to find that sweet spot of the right amount of homework, what type of homework, those types of things. So if you have any questions for us, please send a comment below, or you can look us up online at www.tennyschool.com. We'd be happy to have you come out and tour our school. We are a one-to-one school focused in on the student, which I think helps us, gives us a leg up on assigning homework in the right way.
Exactly.
So that's it for today. We look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Thank you.